Okay, it's day 45, and this is version 1. And I'm going to call this one The Value of Being Wrong. So I would start out the day saying this guy, Peter Strokes, and we're going to keep it Strokes to make it an internet meme and not struggle with a name. Peter Strokes here, I say, is Andrew McCabe, right? Completely wrong, right? Well, first of all, I corrected within 24 hours, unlike the PP dossier, where we're like a year and a half now into a false um, narrative there, right? This shows you how this process, open process, is going to win no matter how much effort, power, and money gets put into it, and why the false construction from PP dossier is going to fail because people get tired of having to defend this. Now, there's a lot of people helping me with the name Strokes and so forth, and it makes it fun. And in here, Carol Bronder is, gleefully saying, you got it wrong. And I'm saying exactly the same thing I'm saying here. The metadata, the great thing about going on the metadata is only the links in the chain that are wrong need to be replaced, and then you make the conclusion at the end after you get all the evidence. Unlike starting out with a PP dossier, where you have flawed evidence chains all along the way, and all the chains weaken every day. So it's just a matter of time before you win. And that's exactly where we're at. Within 24 hours, and I'll just show you how that occurred within 24 hours. First of all, there's all the different folks coming in saying, well, this is not news. We knew that somebody left the Mueller investigation. We knew that somebody left the Clinton Foundation investigation. We knew that somebody left the Trump thing. The key is that they're all tied together. These ubiquitous Peter Strokes and Lisa Page, they're everywhere where Andy McCabe is. They are the surrogates of Andy McCabe. That's the key thing. That's the new thing, that you put those three things that were broken up, now you put them together. Okay? And this document becomes a dossier into itself. The FBI could never compile something this beautiful in 24 hours. There's no way, unless they could put 50 agents on it. But this is just a great post here about NSA and how NSA goes down to this FBI data intercept technology unit in Quantico, Virginia, to have better access to the providers. And it turns out that the FISA warrants provide 40% of the information coming to the NSA. And here we get we get the exact data. There's 7,485 FISA targets. This is going to be I'm going to drill right in on that. How many of these are real terrorism suspects? I guess Muhammad, which really wasn't a terrorism suspect, and how many are deplorables? That number is what I'm going to work off of. Now, there's going to be a much greater number than that are not FISA, that are just a WAN type targets, which I think is going to be more like 150,000 or so. But we'll get there. We'll get there with the DHS system, but we're not there yet. But here comes Zero Hedge with Peter Strokes. People talking about I should speak up, so I'll talk up louder. And then let's see. Let's go a little bit further here in the comments. People say I should write the book. Well, you have to live through it first, and then it almost writes itself. It would almost be worse trying to write this. It's rather just better to experience it. Here's stuff coming in about how Peter Strokes is his father's 81. His dad writes for the Fayetteville Observer. Okay, his dad talks about the Persian language, civic action schools for the Kurds, the Balochs, the Turkomans, the Azeris, the Afghans. His dad worked in 13 different Western African villages. Now, those are some interesting things for Vietnam, that we didn't know before yesterday, right? Clarksville, Tennessee. He's lived in Clarksville, Tennessee. He's lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Of course, you remember that case where the kids were being taken from Minnesota to Clarksville. Now, I'm not saying he's at all or a part of that, but it just screams. The metadata just screams out. Hey, how about that one case where the kids were going in the cages from Tennessee to Tennessee from Minnesota? Let's see what we got here. 818 is kind of like a 911 call between agencies. When someone goes section 811, that's the Intelligence Community Inspector General, the ICIG, saying, hey, red flag, red flag, red flag. We need to watch this dossier. We need to watch this dossier. And this is a news article from last year saying that that happened for these Clinton emails. So all the different inspectors general, on August 9th, 2016, I believe that's what this is saying, is when you send out an 811, I believe all the inspectors generals are alerted across all agencies. I believe. Now that'll be interesting to try to find out. Again, it's almost better when I'm wrong because the intelligence comes back and this is just great. So this one is about how Hillary bought or promised these ranches to the FBI agents that were involved in the different investigations. So, which, yeah, I can see why the FBI would want to have a foregone conclusion if they get the Bundy Ranch or they get whatever ranch when they're investigating Uranium One. Just a really super interesting data. This becomes really an incredible dossier in and of itself. And this is why when we roll to day 54, I think I'm going to just use the old dossiers and just layer on new comments now with the new updates. Most of it's 95% of the stuff is right. So I think I'm going to use that as a base. I don't know yet. I'll make that decision down the road. But here's Devin Nunes preparing a contempt of Congress. This is all happening today, by the way. I believe the contempt of Congress the letter from Nunes is going to happen today for the FBI and the DOJ. Not sure, but here they're talking about there's a lot of strokes up there, different strokes for different folks. There's a lot of different strokes for different folks up there near O'Hare Airport, and with this Polish name Strokes. This Lisa Page is married to a guy named like Sturdivant or something like that. It's a Dutch name. And I think this guy's actually Dutch. I really don't think this Peter Strokes is a real name, so that's why I'm not bothering pronouncing it right. I really think this is the key. I don't know why, but it just screams. I've been to the Bolingbrook warehouse area that supports O'Hare, and I went out there where the Owens had the Bolingbrook location and just saw warehouses for as far as you could see, and you could see all these Polish people, and all these Polish restaurants, and Coke, Pepsi, Pepsi, Coke, Pepsi, Coke. So it just screamed. The metadata just screamed strokes, different strokes for different folks near O'Hare Airport. So we'll get there. But remember that visual of Coke, Pepsi, Pepsi, Coke. Or you got yellow cake or you got white cake. Yellow cake or you got white cake. So anyway, we'll remember that Belushi routine when we get back to different strokes for different folks. So here, this person talks about Hillary purchasing, or how these two, this Peter Strokes and Lisa Page, are involved in the tarmac incident. I mean, just everything in the campaign that you remember seems to be involved with these two. They seem to be everywhere. They're literally kind of like the Zeligs of this story, and that's an arcane reference. So I'll just say they're the Strokes. It's become an internet meme already. Okay, so let's go a little bit further, and I will, somebody said, all these fake names have, anatomical references, which I agree, and it's, everyone made comment about how he had the 3-hour interview with Hillary, the email cover-up and so forth. This is it. This is the 655,000 emails. This is the mother lode. We're down to the actual person who did it. So that's the beautiful piece of this. And here, this person's talking about how the Sekulow documents, the 413 pages of the Sekulow documents, talk about all this stuff, talk about the tarmac meeting. And now we're connecting Strokes and Page to Senator Feinstein and the Intel Committee, and that kind of school play where she was going to really, bust the CIA over this, and then, oh, by the way, we didn't do anything at the end of the day. Kind of reminds me of a Grassley letter. Here, people are talking about, and I talked to Task Force yesterday about how they really ask this, during these interview questions, they really ask this drug questions. Have you used drugs? Have you used drugs? They want you to admit that you've used drugs so that later on they could go, he's a drug user. If this person ever has a conscience later on down the road, you can always come back and say, well, they're a drug user. They want people compromised from the beginning to be involved in this. And this is especially true of this Peter Strokes. He asked those types of questions. He was sued over it. Okay, so the intelligence was just so good on this. So I'll leave it there as kind of a morning warm up, and we'll move on to the news of the day as it develops.